What's going on, everybody? Man, Eric Wilson for the Sports Arena. And as you see, I got two of the greats here with me. I got my man, Mike Carotenuto, and of course, Alex Fleming. We are going to give you a Week 1 prediction preview. So, if you steal this from us, let me just say, you're welcome. That being said, gentlemen, what's going on? It's so good to be back together. It's been truly a minute. Mike, what's up, man?
Yeah, man, Florida, I like it. It's nice and cool here.
Yeah. Mr. Fleming, always a busy man, but thank you so much for taking the time to be here, my brother.
Weren't we just here?
I know, I'm saying. It wasn't that long ago.
Back at the scene of the crime.
I'm telling you. All right, fellas, so we got a lot of games to get to, and I want to start off. Let's just get mine out the way. Let's talk about Philly and Atlanta. As Alex, as you like to call them, Falcons, are hosting a young team, if you will, in Philadelphia. Jalen Hurts is the official starter. You got Devontae Smith, the Heisman Trophy winner. But like you, I'm going to question my defense. But, sir, let me ask you, give me your thoughts on Philly and Atlanta.
Atlanta is a dumpster fire that can't be extinguished, while Philly is underappreciated. People are sleeping on them like Tempur-Pedic. However, I love their running game. And they have mismatches at the wide receiver position between the Heisman Trophy winner Devontae Smith, Quez Watkins, and Jalen Reagor, who's been a standout at camp. I think this game is going to be one in the trenches because Philadelphia's offensive line is better than Atlanta's defensive line.
Fair enough. Listen, you'll know where I stand. If you don't know, you ain't been watching this show. I'm a Philly guy till I die. What I am a little upset about is we got rid of Travis Fulgham, a guy who last season, when called upon weeks 3 through 5, especially against that Pittsburgh game, the brother showed up and showed out. I will never go against my team. I'm very excited that we got Fletcher and Brandon and Javon Hargraves. The biggest question I'm looking at right now is my two tight ends set. They've been sleeping on Ertz and Goddard. I think this year, one, if not, in my opinion, both have standout years. But we know where Zach has made up with Howie Roseman in the front office. Dallas, in his last year of his contract, things are a little bit dicey. Him and his agent aren't on the same page. But, as always, I'm choosing Philly to win this. Mike, I know this is a hard pill for you to swallow, but where are you going?
It is. It is a hard pill, and Jalen Reagor had the best catch in all of camp. I was nice enough to send that to you because I didn't want to acknowledge it, but Jalen Reagor obviously had a hell of a camp. I think that Kyle Pitts is actually going to set the record for rookie yards in a game by a tight end, but Atlanta still loses the game. Don't get me wrong. As much as it pains me to pick Philly, and again, I'm not like everybody else. I was just saying to Eric earlier, Matt Ryan can still do it. I trust Matt Ryan, but yes, they lost a lot. They don't have a lot. I think they'll be coached. Offensively, they do. They have a lot. Defensively, they don't have a lot. Philly, on the other hand, defensively, they can kind of be up and down in this game, but
And that's going to be the question.
yeah, and it is a question. But I do think that even though they go on the road to Atlanta, the Eagles beat the Falcons in a battle of weak birds.
Bird will be served on Sunday. However, I do believe that Miles Sanders has the potential to have a breakout year.
That is my hope. I need my friend Miles to truly do what I know that brother can do. Listen, you sat behind Saquon Barkley. You really didn't get your shine at Penn State, but now you are in Philly. The city loves you. The town loves running backs. From Brian Dawkins to Brian Westbrook, to Deuce Staley, Miles Sanders, you fit right into that mold. So, brother, do what you do. Be our lead back and put the ball down Atlanta's defense's throat.
And you do realize if they don't win, I mean, we all picked them, but he is never going to let you forget this guy. You can't lose to the Falcons.
I know. I listen. I will not go into hiding. I will take my lumps like a man, but
Normally I say, but I'm not bitter, but I'm not trying to instigate. I'm not trying to instigate anything at all for you guys. I'm just saying.
Fair enough. All right, fellas, let's move on to the next game. Alex Fleming, your Super Bowl pick to make it back to make it to the Super Bowl for Super Bowl 56. You made this prediction back in March of 2021, saying that the Buffalo Bills would be the AFC Conference champions and be in the Super Bowl. Well, their first test is against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, there's been a lot of talk, about, is this going to be Mike Tomlin's first losing season? What's going to happen now that Big Ben officially is playing? But then you look at the flip side. It is Buffalo's time in a lot of people's estimation. Again, you've got a Cole Beasley. Who got Diggs? And you've got the quarterback in Josh Allen, who, quite frankly, in my opinion, one of the best quarterbacks in the league today. Mike, I'm going to kick to you first before I let Mr. Fleming have his way with the Pittsburgh Steelers and how his Buffalo AFC team is going to decimate them. But talk to me about Pittsburgh and Buffalo.
Well, I love both you and Alex, but I was on Buffalo first last year. Last March, when we started all this, I was on Buffalo.
I would beg to differ, but go ahead.
I just said that Buffalo is a team in the AFC. Okay, so maybe Alex was close. But either way, last March, I jumped on the Buffalo Bills bandwagon. Look, the Steelers, again, you're talking about Mike Tomlin having a losing season. I don't think it'll happen. I had them one game over 500. I just don't see it. TJ Watt talking about he wants a contract extension. We know how Steelers don't like people that aren't in camp, that are trying to deal with it. So, again, you need TJ Watt on the field. Even if he is on the field, yes, he will make plays. We all know how dominant he is, and he makes that whole defensive line better. It is the Aaron Donald effect of the AFC with TJ Watt. But with Buffalo, like you said, and then getting Emmanuel Sanders, for some reason, a lot of people think Emmanuel Sanders is done, just a complimentary piece that might perform. You now have him next to Diggs. He still has speed. He still has the ability to take the top off the ball. Maybe not as much as Diggs, but I love Buffalo. Pittsburgh goes 0-1 here. I still don't think they'll have a losing season, but week 1, of course, Buffalo. And yeah, they'll be in the AFC Championship game, so I know that.
All right, now, Alex, you have them, Pittsburgh, at 8-9. You were 1. Only you and our buddy, Mr. John Shear, have them 8-9. The rest of us still say Mike Tomlin's going to finish above 500 at 9-8. However, on the flip side, you have been saying this, and I've been with you saying that Buffalo is the team. Now is their time. Now is their moment. But Pittsburgh last year, sir, started off the season 11-0. Granted, their regression after that, we don't know what happened.
I do.
But right now, you cannot ignore what Pittsburgh, at least for this week, what they might be able to pull together.
It is early, and it's week 1, and everybody knows how unorthodox week 1 can be. But if you see people as numbers, you can see how this is going to break down. Pittsburgh's defense was solid all of 2020 until Bud Dupree went down. Then they lost 4 out of the 5 and lost to the little brother Cleveland Browns in the playoffs. The offensive line basically retired. No more Marcus Pouncey, no more Gilbert, and Villanueva went to the rival Baltimore Ravens. So you have a patched up offensive line that is a work in progress. That's a quote from Mr. Tomlin from the Pro Football Hall of Fame game. And you have a running game that's young and fresh in Najee Harris, but you have wide receivers who have banned themselves from TikTok, get into fights in the offseason, and have inconsistent hands. Now, that's the offensive side. Defensively, they like to go man-to-man. Buffalo loves to play man-to-man. Just ask the Miami Dolphins when they hung 56 points on them in Week 17. You mentioned Diggs, obviously. Shout out to Mookie Hawkins, WUFO Sports, InfoCube. Miss you, 2020 Combine, that's real. Cole Beasley, vaxxed or not, will be on the field. And you mentioned Emmanuel Sanders. Who you didn't mention is Gabriel Davis. The UCF product is a number 1 that's getting absolutely no limelight due to the fact that Stephon Diggs is that damn good. You can't cover all of these receivers. Imagine if they had a decent running game. That's right, Zach Moss was hurt last year. He's healthy. Between the ground and pound of Singletary and Moss, with the nice tight end room that they have for security blankets, Josh Allen with the 71% completion percentage, and wide receivers that you couldn't cover with 3 blankets, I don't think Buffalo's going to be stopped. No one circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, there's enough to be said. I mean, I am picking Buffalo to win this game, not only because it's in Orchard Park, but because, again, who got Diggs? I mean, that's the way I look at it. Mike, I assume you're on board with this one. I know you are Buffalo fans, so are we all circling the wagons as we circle this table?
And I mean, we're talking about the offense, which is the star, but re-signing Matt Milano, the defensive end they took out of Miami in the first round, like they just tightened up that defense. And McDermott knows how to coach. Josh Allen loves his offensive coordinator. Didn't really take any interviews for some jobs that were open. He was happy up there in Buffalo. So yeah, the Bills take this and they're gonna roll.
AJ Espinoza didn't play a lot last year.
True.
Gregory Rousseau was a menace for the Miami Hurricanes. Those two are going to be the new Bosa and Ingram in the AFC.
Wow. Big words. All right, let's keep it going. Here we go. Mama Carotenuto, we love you. I just need to preface this before we get into this one because Sam Darnold is hosting his former team. Robbie Anderson is hosting his former team as Zach Wilson and the New York Jets come to Carolina in what I'm calling the revenge game for Sam Darnold. No more ghosts. The brother's got weapons. Oh, and by the way, he's got one of the top running backs in the league in Christian McCaffrey. It pains me to do this, but I have to take Carolina in this one.
Yeah, that was one of the Jets' losses I had in the season. I think Sam Darnold, with you, gets his revenge. I don't even know if it's so much revenge. It's a whole different regime. They weren't there. They wanted to bring in their own quarterback. You bring in a new coach like Salah, defensive guy or not. Coaches want to bring in their quarterback with whatever offensive coordinator they're working with. So I don't look at it as revenge. I mean, if our favorite coach Adam Gase was still there, because I know Alex wants Adam Gase to coach his teams, Eric. I mean, look at him. He's so sad Adam Gase is gone. But no, that being said, the Jets, look, their defense will make it competitive. There's some injuries that came up offensively and defensively late in preseason. So that's going to be tough for him. But look, you see Robert Salah on the sidelines. He hasn't lost any of that juice from San Francisco. So he knows he has a big job in front of him. It looks like they're giving him more leeway, at least in the beginning, than Todd Bowles, because it seemed like Bowles was under such a microscope because of what he did with defenses in Arizona. Salah did the same thing, obviously, as we know, with the Niners. So that defense, no matter who's on the field, is going to come to play. They just don't have, obviously, all the tools. I mean, this season and going into the draft next year, I do think, like I said, I know I picked them to win the most games out of all of us, but they're still under 500. But yeah, Carolina wins that game. I think McCaffrey last year, I mean, not that he had COVID, but the injuries, the frustration, because he kept trying to get back on the field, even for a team that wasn't really winning. But yeah, I just think Sam Darnold's going to come out. And I've said this to you and Alex a million times. After that victory last year, the Jets beat the Rams in LA. Aaron Donald was playing. That's all. And their defense was playing, and Sam Darnold went in there with the Jets and beat the Rams. It is last season, fine.
Trap game. It was a trap game.
Trap
I
or
think the
not,
Rams
you're in
got
the
ahead of
NFL.
themselves.
I know.
I'm just saying. I still go back and say that was a trap game.
I agree.
We could always pinpoint games throughout the season that we say, that's a trap game. And I think that's what it was. That's just my opinion. Mr. Fleming?
Mr. Carotenuto, I'm ashamed of you. I thought you were a Jets fan.
No.
I'm actually going against the grain, and I'm going to pick the Jets. And here's why.
Okay.
No one expects the Jets to win this game, obviously, and for obvious reasons. Sam Darnold, who was seeing goats, now has found a new McDonald's to call home. But he has a backup quarterback that runs the offense a little bit better than him in P.J. Walker. Maybe he doesn't have rapport with Robbie Anderson. Maybe he doesn't know about the weapon that Terrence Marshall Jr. is. And is him and DJ Moore on the same page? I'm not quite sure. You mentioned the 2 wins that the Jets had last year. They were against Cleveland and the Rams. What do both of those teams have in common?
They were playoff teams.
Playoff teams and power running games. If you can slow down Nick Chubb and Cam Akers, you must be doing something right on the defensive line.
Okay.
Now, I'm not going to compare Nick Chubb to McCaffrey, but I'm not going to compare McCaffrey to Nick Chubb. I think the defensive line of the Jets can slow down Carolina. And as far as the weapons of the Jets, everyone's sleeping on Corey Davis. I think the best thing he did was get away from Tennessee, so he's no longer in A.J. Brown's shadow, because he looks like a #1 receiver to me. And Denzel Mims out of Baylor, him and his coaching staff have a bit of a rapport, because he knew him and Matt Rule from Baylor. Now, call me crazy, but if Zach Wilson was ever going to make a statement and not have his mother by his side, I think week 1 would be the time to do it. Upset special. I got the Jets.
Wow. Well, Mama Carotenuto officially loves Alex Fleming. Hopefully she still loves Mike and I after this one. All right, let's keep it going, guys. So next up, I think this is an easy one, but I have to at least ask. Minnesota at Cincinnati. Listen, it's Joe Burrow. It's Kirk Cousins. Whatever. I'm not a fan. Y'all know I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of Kirk Cousins. Never have been, never will be. You like that? Too bad. But with that being said, I got to pick them because it's Cincinnati. And I think I gave them maybe 2 wins this whole entire season. So I got Minnesota. Gentlemen?
Yeah, I mean, Jamar Chase, I know he's getting, having an issue with the drops. They didn't improve their offensive line. I mean, it's going to be another tough year for Burrow and Cincinnati, especially in that division. But yeah, I'll keep it short. Minnesota, I think, has too much on defense. And they could probably hand the ball to Dalvin Cook 45 times if they wanted to and never throw the ball, control the clock, and win the game. So I go Minnesota, even though Eric's MVP, that's actually Eric's MVP pick, is Kirk Cousins.
He secretly does have a crush on Kirk Cousins. And Cincinnati is actually good against the run. But you know, they don't have a good secondary. And there's this guy by the name of Justin Jefferson. I think he's a number one. He's going to outshine Adam Thielen. And he did break Randy Moss's rookie record for receiving yards. So, I mean, the Minnesota defense is a little bit shaky, but they didn't have Danielle Hunter last year. And I'd like to think that the ball control is going to eat up the clock against Cincinnati. Good luck to you, Mr. Burrow. You're going to need it this year. I got the Vikings.
Yeah.
And I will say real quick with Thielen and Jefferson, because Jefferson, again, I'm not calling him Stephon Diggs. Do not send me hate tweets. Stephon Diggs is our guy. You know that. But Adam Thielen can produce even more like he did when Stephon Diggs started blowing up, because people are going to roll with their coverage as Justin Jefferson. They know Adam Thielen can play, but at the same time, you give the ball to Dalvin Cook, give it to him out of the backfield. So for Cincinnati, that's too much.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, here we go. 49ers at Detroit Lions. The Matthew Stafford era is gone, and the Jared Goff era has begun. So, San Francisco, Jimmy Garoppolo, Trey Lance, that up and down conversation of which quarterback do we start? Do we start two? Do we only start one? What's going to happen? What do we think about this game? Now, if there was ever an opportunity for Detroit to, I think, surprise the world, it would be this week. Why? New quarterback, playing against a defense that he has been accustomed to playing against since he got into the league with the 49ers defense. I don't know how the new defensive coordinator or head coach is going to be now that Salah is in New York, but I'm actually going to roll with Jared Goff and the Detroit Lions to win this game, home opener, Ford Field, against the 49ers.
You need to be drug tested. Can you name me two starting wide receivers for the Detroit Lions?
Off the top of my head, I cannot. I'm still going with Jared Goff and the Detroit Lions.
Amon St. Brown and Tyrell Williams, who did not play last year, who was part of the Vegas Raiders. They did the right thing, unlike Cincinnati, and grabbed Penal Sewell. But that offensive line is atrocious, and the defense is even worse. Are we aware that Raheem Mostert is the fastest running back in the NFL, and clock speeds almost up to 23 miles per hour? So all he needs is a couple of straightaways and a breakaway, and this could be a torchlight game in Detroit Live. I have San Francisco blowing out Detroit, and I didn't even mention George Kittle.
Yeah, I mean, George Kittle being injured last year, with all the injuries they had, but I look for him to obviously have a big year. My boy, Sun Devil, forks up, Brandon Ayuk, is going to have a huge year, not because he's on all my fantasy teams, Brandon, but he is going to have a breakout year. I mean, Deebo Samuel, that speed, and what George Kittle can do opens the field up. But I did say to Eric that Detroit, in September, no matter how bad they've always been, they always keep games close. Whether it's division games, conference games, whoever they play, September seems to be their month if they're going to win some games and maybe try to build momentum. But I'm still with Alex. It's a close game. I disagree about a blowout because I'm with you. Jared Goff knows the defense, whether they can protect him. That's the other side, whether they can run the ball. But it's a close game. But unfortunately, as much as it pains me to pick the Niners, I pick the Niners.
All right, fair enough. Let's keep it going here. Alex Fleming, your team, one of your several teams, the Jacksonville Jaguars, are heading to Mike Carotenuto's 0-17 Houston Texans. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, he said Houston Texans would not win a game this year. So all you Houston fans, when you get your first victory, at Diablos 00 on Twitter, make sure you get at him. But in the meantime and in between time, new start, new head coach, new quarterback, new look, if you will, for the Jacksonville Jaguars, playing against an AFC South divisional opponent. I've got Jacksonville on this one just because I'm going to side with Mike and say, Jacksonville, I gave you at least 3 wins, I think. I'll have to go back and check. But, Alex, this is a team you know pretty well in Jacksonville. So,
Like sands of the hourglass, nothing stays the same. The only thing that's constant is change. Doug Marrone is loved in Jacksonville, but there's a new regime. Urban Meyer is a coach that will be respected. Whether you give it to him or not, he will earn it. Trevor Lawrence is bringing a new sun and light, if you will, to Jacksonville. Hope, like the Star Wars era. And now that Travis Etienne is out for the season, there is no question who leads this backfield. last year, as a rookie out of Illinois State, James Robinson accumulated 1,070 yards rushing and 7 touchdowns, while having 345 yards receiving and only 1 touchdown. That's his backfield. And the juniors, whether it be Shark, Chenault, who's destined for a breakout year,
Agreed.
or Marvin Jones Jr., are going to be too much for the Houston Texans Singletary, which is decimated due to Bill O'Brien and the bad decision-making of the Houston front office. We don't need to address the elephant in the room because that'll be handled in February. He's going to make his $10.5 million and be nice and quiet. I wish Tyrod Taylor nothing but the best and stay away from anybody on that medical staff. Houston, please win a game so that way we can go at Diablo's 0-0. But there's a bright new shining light in a dark Houston. Jaguars all day.
Look, you know I love Tyrod Taylor. That guy has
I
always
do.
got the short end of the stick.
Yes.
When it not in Buffalo, because Rex Ryan loved him, and when Shady McCoy was there, if they had this defense now and a Stephon Diggs, they had receivers. If they had Stephon Diggs with that offense with Shady and Tyrod, we're talking about a whole different Buffalo Bills team. But I'll focus on this game. Look, there's not much to say. I feel bad for Tyrod Taylor. I hope somehow he gets out of there, even though he's going to start, but they're going 0-17. And yeah, you can come at me on Twitter. Go ahead. Because if you win one game, I don't think it's anything to be proud of. Jacksonville whoops them. I would have loved to see Etienne. It is a bummer. I agree with you. I don't think he would have been the starting running back, but him lining up in the slot, the whole reason why he went back to Clemson for his senior season was to become a better pass receiver. That's what he was knocked on from pro scouts and protagonists everywhere saying, okay, he can kind of catch, but he's dropping too many. He shored that up his senior season. And you can run like that, you can catch like that. Urban Meyer just wants those weapons. So Alex isn't allowed to say Sunshine, but I'll call Trevor Lawrence Sunshine because I love Remember the Titans. That being said, they win this game. 2 of their wins I have, obviously, this season for Jacksonville are against Houston. Sorry, Houston, nothing against your city. Your team's terrible.
The linebacking core of the Houston Texans is deplorable. I looked for O'Shaughnessy, the true tight end of the Jacksonville Jaguars, to have a big game against them.
All right. So let's look at Seattle versus Indianapolis. Russell Wilson, I really think he's hit the pinnacle, I think, with Russell. I think this is the year where Russ is truly going to make or break what happens with him and the Seattle Seahawks organization. They start off against Indianapolis, who, let's be very honest, their defense is one of the top 3 defenses in the entire NFL today. That offense, even though you have T.Y. and you have a Naheem Hines and you have a Marlon Mack, things have changed. And that starts with their quarterback, who used to be my quarterback, but we don't know if he's even going to play week 1 in Carson Wentz. Now, if he doesn't, Jacob Eason, will get the start. Alex, you have said plenty of times on the sports arena very simply this: Indianapolis will succeed with or without Carson Wentz at quarterback. For this game, I am going with Seattle and saying my cousin Russell Wilson gets it done when you've got Tyler Lockett, when you've got DJ Metcalf. And listen, Pete Carroll, say what you want about him, one of the few college coaches who, when he transitioned to the NFL, actually was successful. I'm hoping the same for Urban Meyer, but we still have to see it. That said, I have Seattle.
I have Pete Carroll on the hot seat this year. I think he lost control and rapport in the locker room after deciding to pass instead of run. We all know what that was about. Russell Wilson is in his 10th season, and he has made it quite clear, I'm the man. He doesn't have to deal with the Aaron Rodgers syndrome of going back and forth with the general management. DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett are a problem. They go hand in hand. There is no Oates in that equation. You have a Hall, you have a Holtz. In this situation, you have a Hall and a Hall. DJ Dallas and Eskeridge are going to be salvaging for touches, and I hope a healthy Chris Carson can control the running game. The issue I have with Seattle is that defense. Not re-signing KJ Wright was a mistake. My apologies, I have to say that again. Not re-signing KJ Wright was a mistake. However, I don't have faith in Carson Wentz. Sam Ellinger is injured, and won't be able to play. And I think you would think of the Jackie Gleason, which you weren't that far off, because Jacob Eason is not the answer. You can have a great defense, but if you can't score points, you can't keep up with Seattle. I have Seattle.
Well, I guess I'm the kid on Sesame Street. Two of these kids are doing the same one doesn't belong because I am all over Indianapolis. Not because they're just at home, but you touched on everything about Seattle and Russell Wilson. Yeah, he's the man up there. Jamal Adams got his money. He traded all that freight away for him, as they're saying in Seattle. So you're going to give him his money. You didn't do anything for the offensive line. So Russell Wilson is going to be running for his life. Whether Carson Wentz starts or not, if he does, I feel that they can win. But that defense against that offensive line, which you all watch a sports arena, you know how I feel about defense. I love it. And the fact that the Colts have it, they're at home. I like the Colts' weapons. Yes, I'm in the middle on Carson Wentz. I would love to rip him more because, yes, he was in Philly, and Alex knows I like to pick on them. But Carson Wentz healthy, made plays. Nick Foles came in and delivered the Super Bowl. We all know. But Indy's defense is just too much. Like, I get it. And it looks like Carson Wentz will play. I mean, the key, Frank Reich doesn't have to sit there and commit to it. But Jacob Eason, I think the offense would be conservative enough. And Alex and I love those running backs anyway. I mean, you didn't mention Jonathan Taylor, too. That guy.
Have you noticed that? You didn't mention Jonathan Taylor.
I did mention Jonathan Taylor. And here's my reason why. When it comes to running backs, they hold a special place in my heart. And I hold them to a much higher pedigree than I even hold quarterbacks. Because I think if I was to play in the NFL, that would be my position. So I look at these gentlemen and I say to myself, okay, do you fit what is currently being constructed? I have to see Jonathan Taylor in a Frank Reich system. I didn't see it that much last year. But again, I didn't watch much of Indy games because it was Phillip Rivers. That's a whole other story for another time. I'm just simply saying to you, if Jonathan Taylor is going to be that guy, if he's going to be that dude, the 1-2 punch, Mac, Jonathan Taylor, I got to see it. I got to know it.
I have to disagree with you because I don't think Mac is the starter anymore. I think Jonathan Taylor has taken this position and has a stranglehold on it.
Okay.
As a rookie, he accumulated 1,169 yards rushing and nearly 1 yard short, 300 yards receiving. Jonathan Taylor has plenty of tread left on the tires. Shout out 2020 Combine. And the Hydra that is Taylor, Mack, and Hines is going to give teams fits.
Okay. I have to see it. That's what I'm saying. I just have to see it. If Jonathan Taylor, please, prove me wrong. Prove to me that you are the running back, that Mr. Fleming, who you had the pleasure of meeting at the 2020 Combine, is the guy that he holds you so high and dear to be. Because then I will gladly say, I was wrong.
And Frank Reich's an offensive guy, too.
Oh, yeah.
Here's the thing, though. You can have Mack and Taylor in the backfield at the same time and line up Hines in the slot.
Yeah.
There ain't no linebacker that's staying with him. And if a safety can cover him from distance, but you get him the ball quick in the flat, if you have those two in the backfield, again, Indy can tweak their offense, like he's saying, like Alex is saying, they'll succeed with or without Wentz. You need a good quarterback, yes, but with the way they can run the ball and that offensive line and that defense, Seattle's offensive line is going to get killed week 1.
I'm glad you mentioned Leanne Himes. 193 fantasy points for a man who only had a fraction of the touches of Jonathan Taylor.
All right. So, Mike, we're going to your neck of the woods for our next game. It is the Arizona Cardinals versus King Henry, Ryan Tannehill, and the Tennessee Titans. So, sir, this is your world.
Yeah, I mean, Julio Jones, too. I think it'll be – look, obviously we love Derrick Henry. We know what he can do. I mean, a 2,000-yard rusher. If there's somebody that could do it in back-to-back seasons, since probably one of my – Eric Dickerson didn't do back-to-back seasons, but go look up Eric Dickerson, kids. You want to talk about great running backs, look up Eric Dickerson. That being said, I like what the Cardinals have done. I think Kyler Murray and Cliff Kingsbury definitely last year were on a much better page because the first year offensively, especially in Arizona, they're ripping. Kingsbury was actually on. You never hear a coach. We always hear a coach speak. He was actually honest, and in the first game, he said in the first half, he probably screwed up 8 to 9 play calls because he was that nervous in his first NFL game. People appreciated the honesty, but then, of course, on the other side of their mouth, they're ripping him, saying, "Oh, you're in the NFL, you should be able to coach." He fessed up to it. The play calling got a lot better last year. Larry Fitzgerald hasn't filed retirement papers. Says he doesn't want to play. He doesn't have the burn to play right now. He could be a great midseason pickup back for the Cardinals if they're in it. AJ Green's going to have a huge year. Whatever anybody says, the practices I actually got to go out and see, like he was better every time. And it's not like AJ Green was ever a bad route runner.
No.
We know what he did in Cincinnati. Andy Dalton gets picked on. They still went to the playoffs together. And AJ Green, Eric and I were talking about this yesterday. His first few years in the league, he was going toe-to-toe with Julio Jones yards-wise and receptions-wise. So I'm not saying it's going to be a full fountain of youth and rebirth. And I'm not sitting here calling somebody that's early 30s old. You know how I feel about that if you watch the sports arena. But I love the Titans. I think the defense is one thing we've questioned, saying that the not even all of last year, just the last part of last year, that defense declined just enough to cost them the playoff game against the Ravens.
Yeah.
I'm not saying the Cardinals have the same offense, but we have your boy Nuke. I know he's your guy.
Oh.
We all love DeAndre Hopkins, but
that is
as much as Eric despises Kirk Cousins,
yes,
it's the complete 180 for DeAndre Hopkins.
By far.
Well, and Alex and I too, but I think he's the president of the fan club.
Oh yeah.
Look,
I'm
the Cardinals,
drinking that Kool-Aid
the
all
running
over.
game is going to be the question to me. If they can at least control the clock a little bit against the Titans and run the ball, because I think the way they'll throw it around the field. I don't think, like we feel about Stephon Diggs, I'm the same way about DeAndre Hopkins. There's no one guy, and for our Buffalo Bills, I hate picking on them, Alex. 3 guys could not cover DeAndre Hopkins on a Hail Mary last year, probably the catch of the year. But focusing on this game, look, I love what they did. They're going to have to go on the road and prove it. And Alex always brought up the point in sports arena going from west to east. We know that's a terrible stat. As the season goes on, at least it's the first week of the season. So it's going to be a tight one, but I'm gonna go with the Cardinals. I don't trust the defense. I want to trust the Titans' defense. If the defense shows up, then I'll be proven wrong. But I think the Cardinals have enough offense to score points and keep Derrick Henry off the field.
Alex, who do you trust more in this game? Do you trust Nook or do you trust Julio in this game?
I trust Cardinals flying to the Midwest to handle business in Nashville, Tennessee. There are too many weapons for the Arizona Cardinals, who finished 8-8 and didn't meet expectations last year. Kyler Murray is a quarterback who could have played baseball, who's faster than anyone of us here, and the 3rd fastest quarterback in the NFL, behind Daniel Jones. Keep that in mind. DeAndre Hopkins, obviously, is going to be an issue, especially for a secondary that no longer has Adoree Jackson and the recently retired Malcolm Butler. Now, the Nico Autry can help a Tennessee defense, but losing Jarrell Casey doesn't help. And Bud Dupree came off of a torn ACL. Is he completely healthy? They were 24th last year in defense. Now, that's better than the Atlanta Falcons, but that's not saying much. You're telling me a 24th ranked defense is going to stop DeAndre Hopkins, a rejuvenated AJ Green, Eno Benjamin out of the backfield as the quiet sleeper, and a Chase Edmonds who's looking to actually get his limelight when he finally gets his chance? Too many weapons. Cliff Kingsbury has been giving people Raider rash for quite some time. Look it up. It makes sense. I like the Cardinals.
And Eric, real quick, too, with obviously the retirement of Malcolm Butler, I mean, that strains the defense a little bit, but everything Cliff Kingsbury's done, and especially this offense, again, he's a lot calmer calling plays, but this is his. I will say this: we're saying coaches on the hot seat. When we talked about that, I didn't put him on the hot seat,
right.
But I kind of think this is his make or break here, because they were 5-3 before Murray banged up his shoulder and the downward slide went, and he tried to tough out through it, which I thought was a mistake. So at that point, I'm like, I'm not trying to. As an athlete, we don't want to give up on a season, but at the same time, like, you're young, you have next season, you have all these guys coming back. So, and James Conner, that's one guy offensively I was going to say you didn't mention. He hasn't stayed quite healthy, and Chase Edmonds is a guy, and Eno Benjamin, I think, because he will actually outplay Conner, that'll actually help the Cardinals' running game even more.
I see Zaven Collins and Isaiah Simmons being that dynamic duo at the linebacker position, keeping Derrick Henry kind of quiet week 1.
All right. So for all you fancy people, if Derrick Henry doesn't get you the points that you want, just relax. It's only week 1. All right. One more before we go to our 4 o'clock games, and it is the Los Angeles Chargers heading to FedEx Field to face the Washington football team. Now again, Ryan Fitzpatrick, which one are you going to be? Now we know you're good for probably about half the season, where you are going to show up, show out, impress the world, and be that journeyman who continually gets these contracts. But just be careful, because there is a man in waiting by the name of Tyler Heineke, who has proven that even going up against a Super Bowl caliber defense in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the young man can hold his own. So Ryan, if I were you, I'd keep my eye on the ball and also my other eye on that young man behind me. Because if you start to slip, I think Ron Rivera has no problem yanking you from that position. Justin Herbert, on the other hand, a young man who was thrown into the mix last season at the 23rd hour, held his own against the Kansas City Chiefs, who were at the time the reigning defending Super Bowl champions. Justin Herbert just got better. I don't see a sophomore slump for this young man. And it's not because Washington is in my division. I'm just simply saying, if I'm given the choice, I'm going with Herbert and the Los Angeles Chargers.
This is not an upset. The Chargers, from head to toe, are a better team. Washington may have a better defense, but they're going to be like the Chicago Bears in 2007. They're going to be on the field all day. Austin Eckler, top running back. Keenan Allen and Herbert already have a synchronicity that I always like to preach about. A healthy Charger defense. And unlike Seattle, the Chargers have invested in an offensive line. So you're going to tell me that an offensive line to protect a young phenom who took his bumps as a rookie is going to go into hostile territory of FedEx Field, where the defense is spectacular and the offense, not so much. Go Chargers, go.
Yeah, obviously I love Justin Herbert out of Oregon, being a Pac-12 guy, but all the protagonists that were down, you know I don't say I told you so much because it's breaking down talent. We never know. Everyone that ripped on Justin Herbert, I'm looking at you again. I told you so. Teams passed on him. If he would have came out the year before, he probably would have been the #1 pick, but he wanted to go back to school, thought they could win a national title. They did have a shot until they got upset by the Sun Devils. Sorry, side note, Eric.
Sorry.
But anyway, looking at this game, yeah, I'm with Docs. I mean, as much as it pains me to say, and Eric knows this too, Washington's defense is legit. I mean, they have gotten better every year. Then you bring a guy like Ron Rivera, who was a phenomenal defender. Kids looked that up to in the day for the Bears. Look Ron Rivera up playing defense. Was a nasty defensive player. His teams will always play solid defense and be nasty. It's at home. That helps them. But yes, investing in the offensive line, picking up free agents, hitting one of probably the second best left tackle in the draft that the Chargers picked up. I love Keenan Allen. I loved him for years. I think that, again, with Phillip Rivers and the Chargers, they lose all those games late, a kicking thing. Keenan Allen just kind of got overlooked. Well, it'll be a close. I think Washington keep it close for a half. But yes, Eric hit the nail on the head. Herbert got better every week. We saw what he did in Tampa. I mean, he was going blow to blow. He took advantage of that Tampa defense, which at that point of the season was actually starting to play a lot better. And he took his shots. They lose the game. But he was phenomenal last year. And Austin Eckler, hey, anybody that's going to say if you draft him on your fantasy team, you start him, you win. If you win, you take a picture, you send it to him on Twitter, he has you entered for an autographed jersey he's going to send you of his own. So
I tried to tell people on Austin Eckler a couple years ago, and people didn't want to listen. What I'm going to say is, how you like me now? We'll be right back. We're going to get to our 4 o'clock games, the 8 o'clock game, and, of course, the Monday night game. You're with the Sports Arena, my man Mike Carotenuto and Alex Fleming, your man Eric Wilson, back in a moment. Back to the Sports Arena, your man Eric Wilson alongside Believe in the Pac-12 podcast, Mike Carotenuto, and Florida Sun at NSPN, Mr. Alex Fleming. All right, gentlemen, let's get to these 4 o'clock games. A rematch, if you will, from last year's playoffs. Alex, your favorite team, the Cleveland Browns, going up against Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and the Kansas City Chiefs. It is an Arrowhead. It is week 1. Oh, as it pains me because I want to believe in you. I want to believe in the dog pound, and I want to believe in Cleveland. Can't do it for this game. I got to go with Patrick Mahomes. the best tight end in all of football in Travis Kelce. And that running back, who I think is going to continually progress, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I'm going with the Chiefs in this one. Gentlemen, I'll turn it over to both of you.
Sir?
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, I'll let him pick on the Browns. I love what they've done. I mean, Baker Mayfield again. Alex is going to pick on his commercials, which we've all agreed on. I mean, he did get a lot right away. Either way, the Browns are improved. We know they can run the ball. Their defense, their secondary is going to be tested. I mean, that was one of their parts that they've drafted well there, and they keep drafting well there, and it's come to fruition. But Patrick Mahomes hasn't lost in September. He doesn't lose in September, and they don't lose at Arrowhead. And just saying, anyone's going to try and look at the Super Bowl film and think you're going to get by this version of the offensive line, absolutely good luck with that, because Eric hit the nail on the head. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I think, is going to have a big year. They're going to control the ball, control the tempo, and Cleveland will score. But Arrowhead, Week 1, a full capacity now at Arrowhead. Chiefs all day.
Mr. Fleming, I know there's a wanted poster for you in the city of Cleveland, so I'm going to ask you to try as best as humanly possible and be nice to the relevant team that is the Cleveland Browns.
Cleveland won't be relevant Week 1. The best thing that Kansas City did was fix the offensive line for a battered Patrick Mahomes, who was beat like a redheaded stepchild not too long ago in February by the defending reigning Super Bowl champs. However, when you get an ogre out of retirement in Kyle Long, and then you add the best center in college football, former Boomer Sooner Creed Humphrey, you fix the offensive line. Then you finagle an unhappy tackle from Baltimore. It's disgusting, the inheritance of riches that the Kansas City Chiefs have. Keep in mind that Patrick Mahomes still has yet to throw an interception in the month of September. And the bad taste that was left in Travis Kelce's mouth not too long ago in February. Oh, and by the way, Mr. Newsom, I'm a fan of the Big Ten, but you're going to get your welcome to the NFL moment when you try to cover the cheetah. Chiefs all day.
All right, we're going to keep it moving. AFC East matchup here. We have the Miami Dolphins. Tua Tagovailoa is the starter under Brian Flores, facing Bill Belichick and Mac Jones. That's actually Cam spelled backwards. So, gentlemen, the Mac Jones era starts a lot sooner than I think most of us would say was going to happen. Some of us may have known this to actually be a foregone conclusion. I was not one of those people. I expected Cam to perform this year. However, he was officially cut, and Mac Jones is starting. What does this mean for New England as they begin this season against Tua, Brian Flores, and the Miami Dolphins, Mike?
Look, I mean, obviously it's a Belichick disciple, and I love, as much as we all know with John, I pick on the Dolphins because, well, he thinks every other team will step back except for the Dolphins. We'll get to that later. But, look, we've hit this point at nauseam. Bill Belichick and his defenses are what carries his team always early in the season. Whether when Tom Brady was there or not, it was the defenses that carried the team, no matter who they had. It's obviously been well documented, the 8 opt-outs they had last year on defense. Those guys are back. This defense, preseason or not, still look pretty nasty. They're going to look very nasty against the Dolphins. Tua, again, had flashes. He got pulled for Fitzpatrick in quite a few games. And he wasn't moving the ball. He wasn't getting beat up. And I understand protecting your young quarterback like we've talked about. But at the same time, Fitzpatrick went and won a few of those games coming off the bench. So, look, Tua has to take that next step. They brought in his guy, Jalen Waddle from Alabama. Okay, I respect that. But this defense is going to show this offense that in week 1, Buffalo might be the kings of the division, but we're like the very high challenging prince right now. We want to overthrow Buffalo again. So for week 1, look, I don't see Tua coming out against a Belichick defense, even though he's not a rookie anymore. It's his second year. And roll. And what they have on offense, again, I get Mac. Look, anybody that's nicknamed Mac and Cheese, it's hard to take that team seriously and pick them. But look, the Niners were going to trade up for Mac Jones, and that was their original. When they made the trade with the Dolphins and they flew up to number 3, they were there with the intent. They were good at taking Mac Jones, and Trey Lance stole, Kyle Shanahan's heart, and that was that. Belichick sat at 15 and was like, didn't trade up. This guy's there. We're going to take him. And they did, and they think he can run the offense just enough, but that defense is going to be dictating everything to me week 1, Alex. I'm not saying Miami can't win. Look, there's always a shocker, but I don't see it happening.
I don't have faith in McCorkle. Mac Jones' middle name is McCorkle, so I'm going to refer to Mr. McCorkle as McCorkle until he does so differently. You know what I love about Miami? You mentioned it. Buffalo is the king. Let's call them Arthur. The Miami defense would be playing Lancelot. They're going to feast on McCorkle and his bad decision making, and welcome to the NFL moment as a rookie. Tua Tagovailoa, Jalen Hurts, McCorkle, all under Nick Saban's system. Who do you believe is going to be the most successful? Jalen doesn't have a defense. McCorkle does have Belichick. Tua has to bet on himself because this is a make or break year for him. The limelight, the feature, the spotlight, the story is Tua Tagovailoa. And I believe he's been surrounded with weapons. And as a left-handed quarterback who's unorthodox, he needs to show up and show out. How do you start that? You beat the guy who's been beating you for the last 2 decades. I have Miami.
Wow. Alex, you just changed my mind. You just changed my mind. I very rarely ever go against Belichick in Gillette Stadium as a home opener. But, sir, to all of your points, which none of them are argued and very well articulated, I'm going with Miami. So, Mike, you once again are the odd man out on this one. Normally, that's my job, but I will gladly.
But here's the thing. I agree with everything you're saying about Mac Jones being a rookie, even though they're at home seeing a defense. But and Jalen Hurts, I would say, to me, to answer your question, would have the most success because he finishes last year under the true college quarterback whisperer in Lincoln Riley, who all he knows is how to produce Heisman Trophy quarterbacks. That being said, look, I'm not saying I can't trust Tua. I like what he did in college, except for those secondaries, and we're not going to get into it right now because Eric and I have had many conversations, and Alex too, about the trash secondaries at the bottom half of the SEC. Hit me up at Diablo00 SEC fans. Your secondaries are trash. That being said, to focus on this game, look, I think both quarterbacks will start. I'm with you because Belichick, like you said, at home, and I can see it being close. I'm just not going to trust Tua in the end against a defense of guys that is literally, for lack of a better cliche, rabid dogs waiting just to kill somebody.
But but alongside that same line, what if it's Mac Jones with the last drive? Do you trust Mac Jones against that Miami defense if it takes him having to drive the field?
Well, to pull a Tom Brady and just get a field goal, sure. If it's a touchdown, then no, we're going to overtime.
I'm saying touchdown. That's what I'm saying.
Possibly.
Here's the calculation that I predicted.
Sure.
I love McDaniels as an offensive coordinator, but you still have to have somebody to implement it. If Miami shuts down that running game, that potent running game of Damian Harris, J.J. Taylor, and Ramondre Stevenson, that's going to force McCorkle to throw. Miami has the best secondary in the NFL between Byron Jones and Xavier Howard.
Just had to mention Byron. He had to mention Byron Jones. He couldn't let it go.
I know.
I like Miami.
All right, let's keep it going. Green Bay versus New Orleans, played in Jacksonville. And as always, we want to send our thoughts and prayers to those in Louisiana. Please, if you can, folks, help out in any way you can to support them. This is a time where we need to always embrace and come together. And it's one of those heart-wrenching things. When you see the photos and you see the videos, we've got to do better as a country. But that being said, Aaron Rodgers, Matt LaFleur are coming to Jacksonville, to Duval, to face Jameis Winston and Sean Payton and the New Orleans Saints. Alex, Aaron Rodgers, Jameis Winston. I think I know where you're going with this, but please, if you will, sir.
The definition of petty, instead of playing in Texas, because Dallas is in an offbeat location, you decide to play in Florida. And instead of playing in Miami, you choose TIAA Bank because it's going to be more expensive for Green Bay Packer fans to fly in and root for the Pack. Aaron Rodgers has a losing record in Florida. He is 3-4. And you're hoping that week 1, that's going to slow down this matchup. Michael Thomas is on the physically unable to perform. Marcus Callaway is going to be the breakout star, at least for the beginning season. If you don't know about Alvin Kamara, you probably shouldn't be watching the NFL. Here's the problem. The former MVP is upset. He has a list of demands that was written on the palm of his hands, and he got them all. A security blanket in Randall Cobb has returned, and do we need to mention the best wide receiver in football next to Stephon Diggs and Devontae Adams? Not one, not two, but 3 years in a row, double-digit touchdowns. If we're working hand to mouth, Peyton is a better coach than LaFleur. If we're going quarterback to quarterback, this isn't a competition. So, personnel. I like Green Bay's personnel just a little bit more than all of those losses that have happened to the New Orleans Saints. New Orleans is going to get a reality check of what happens when you lose Sheldon Rankins to the Jets. You lose your linebacking core. You go cheap on the secondary, and you lose weapons on the offense. I think Green Bay lights up the Saints in TIAA Bank.
Wow.
Well, yeah, I mean, the offensive line in Green Bay, I mean, that's one thing that I think didn't so much get worse, but it didn't get better. They should be playing in Dallas. I mean, obviously, Cowboys are in Tampa playing the Bucks, and they play on Thursday, and they've been practicing in Dallas. So, I mean, you're thinking flights from, if you're going from Green Bay to New Orleans, you're just kind of going a little shuttle bus over to Dallas. But this is where they're at. Aaron Rodgers with the losing record in Florida. When I saw that, I looked at that the other day. I thought that was pretty interesting. But I think Jameis Winston's going to have a blow-up game. I think it's going to be a wee bit of a shootout, just because we've talked about the New Orleans defense. Obviously, Cam Jordan, I think, can still get to the quarterback. He's going to need some more help. But I'm going with the upset. I told you this, Eric. Even though it's a home game for New Orleans in Jacksonville, I'm going with the Saints.
Wow. I look at this, and Alex, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's the coaching piece. We know what Sean Payton is capable of, but we know that based on what him and Drew Brees were able to do. It's the same analogy that we give when we talk about Brady and Belichick. We know the level of excellence that exists because of the quarterback-head coach combination. Well, now you've got a young man, and he's not really young anymore. He's more of a seasoned vet, in Jameis Winston. But now you've given Sean Payton somebody new to kind of mold and shape and help elevate and kind of get the stink that he has on him from his time here in Tampa Bay kind of off him. Didn't play a lot last season. You really didn't need to. You finally made a decision between him and the Swiss Army knife that is Taysom Hill to really come out and say, no, Jameis is our guy. Jameis got LASIK surgery, which means now the brother can see. If he wants to erase the 30 for 30, that is Jameis Winston, 30 touchdowns, 30 interceptions, then you have to start at some point. And I think this game, because Jameis, playing in Florida, don't really know his record, but he knows the state pretty well. I'm just simply saying in this particular instance, if there was ever a moment for Jameis Winston to really show up, I say shootout, and I'll give the edge, because of their kicker, to the New Orleans Saints.
I do like New Orleans offense, and I think Jameis is going to cut down on the turnovers. He will be productive on Sunday. The defense of the Saints will be their downfall.
All right. Let's go to one more game here. Denver at the Giants. Teddy Bridgewater is officially the starter. Thank you, Teddy Two Glove. Hope you were able to get it done. I support you, brother, no matter where you go and what you do. So please know that from your boys here at the Sports Arena. Saquon Barkley is back, though, for the New York Football Giants. And I have to say, as Alex pointed out earlier, Daniel Jones is one of the fastest running backs in the NFL. Quarterbacks in the NFL. I just can't even talk about this. But to quote Mike, with that being said, as much as I want to believe in Denver, I have to go with the New York Football Giants to win this game. Mr. Carotenuto, this is our division, so I'm going to go to you before we get to Mr. Fleming.
Yeah, it's interesting because offensively, I know the Giants got ripped for taking Tony in the first round. The kid out of Florida, that Kyle Pitts, I mean, he was open a lot. Trask did spread the ball around. Tony made catches. Now, Evan Ingram's going to have to be big, but for Denver, and Saquon Barkley. The only thing, I say, obviously being, an annoyed Cowboys fan, is that you have the only problem with the Giants and Saquon Barkley, you have Jason Garrett calling plays. So take that for what you will, Giants fans. But with Denver, I mean, look, I love Teddy Bridgewater. I mean, he only had, granted he didn't play a ton, but 3 incomplete passes all of preseason. He moved the ball. He got in the end zone. Preseason or not, look, Teddy Bridgewater, I think, was happy to be out of Carolina, didn't kind of like the rookie coaching staff. Not anything personal from what he was saying about Matt Rule, but just how some of the things in practice were run. So I think it's a little different in Denver. But with Saquon Barkley back and Denver's defense is their strong point. If Bridgewater, again, he won't turn the ball over. If Saquon plays, I mean, I'm going to go with the Giants, but man, this is a tough one because I could see Denver going on the road winning that game, but I'm going to go with the Giants.
This game is in the Meadowlands, correct?
Yes, sir.
MetLife, baby, in Jersey. There's only one New York team, Buffalo Bills.
I like Denver's defense, and I love the rookie Javonte Williams, but right now he's behind Melvin Gordon. Melvin Gordon, tick-tock, tick-tock. I don't have faith in Drew Lock or Teddy Bridgewater, even though he does have the weapons in Denver. New York has been slept on and just shunned for too long in the NFC East. And I like to believe that between Kadarius Toney, Kenny Golladay, Sterling Shepard, the speed demon John Ross via Cincinnati, and Evan Ingram and Kyle Rudolph, Daniel Jones now has weapons. The New York Giants have the best secondary in the NFC East. And I think Teddy Two Gloves gets picked off maybe not once but twice on Sunday. If Saquon Barkley is at 80%, I'll take him over almost every other running back in the NFL. New York in a statement game.
All right. Let's move on to the Sunday night game, a game that we have talked about ad nauseum because I am the first and probably the only person here to say if Justin Fields would start week 1, I'm picking the Bears. However, Matt Nagy has made his decision, and Andy Dalton will be starting Sunday Night Football in Los Angeles when they play the Rams. For that reason alone, I'm taking the Rams.
Rams.
Wow. Well, look, it doesn't matter. Andy Dalton, Justin Fields. Justin Fields would he's going to get pounded as much as Andy Dalton would get pounded. Last I checked, like I said, Aaron Donald's playing. Jalen Ramsey's in the secondary. Linebacker core looks good. Plus, offensively, Stafford, who Sean McVay didn't want to play in the preseason. It's his choice. But Stafford wants to come out and prove a point with that offense. The Bears' defense will make it challenging for a half. And I say a half just because, to Alex's point earlier, like the Washington defense, the Bears' defense is going to be on the field a ton in this game. Now, granted, SoFi Stadium is, it's a dome, so they're good, but there's still air getting in. I'm telling you right now, it's a Sunday night game. The Bears, the defense is going to put a great effort forward. They're going to be highlighted week 1. The Rams crush them.
The Rams are missing Cam Akers. Step in Darrell Henderson. I'm not concerned about the running game. These are the monsters of the Midway. I'm concerned about the secondary. By not re-signing Kyle Fuller, you now left yourself exposed to a team full of assassins. Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, the rookie Tutu Atwell, and nice and quietly, Jacob Harris. He's listed as a tight end, but the wide receiver tight end out of UCF is nasty. Tyler Higbee needs to be careful because if he's injured or starts to digress, that's Harris's position to take. Also, look into the trenches on how the offensive line that's batted for the Chicago Bears are going to handle Aaron Donald. Because as soon as Bobby Brown is next, yes, Bobby Brown, don't be cruel. Bobby Brown of Texas A&M is next to Aaron Donald, there's going to be less double teams. I have the Rams in the future being a very big problem for a team in the NFC South. The Rams win this game easily.
And Sony Michel obviously getting traded there late. Sean McVay knows what he wants in a running back. He's not expecting that he'll be a Todd Gurley. I don't think anybody is. Sony Michel, good runner of the ball, but I think yeah, he didn't have a ton of receptions in New England, but that's because White was always the back out of the backfield that was the receiving back. So I think Sony Michel, especially with a Sean McVay offense, maybe not week 1, but I think by week 4, 5, 6, as we get on in the season, that's going to be even bigger, like you're talking about these weapons for the Rams, because McVay's offense, when you look at it, it's all misdirection, it's all getting the defense with dirty eyes, and like you said, a Cooper Kupp is just standing 20 yards wide open. Robert Woods seemingly running by everybody, and then you have guys underneath, the tight ends. I think Matthew Stafford, again, I know in Detroit he got picked on, but any person, any player that plays, that's going to play for Detroit with broken ribs and go out and take another snap and win a game, like, you have my respect. Because if you're playing for Detroit, you're probably figuring, why am I even out here? We have no chance to win a division or go to the playoffs. Stafford has a big year. Unfortunately for the Bears, as much as you know I love that defense, it's just going to be too much.
The one and only weakness that the Bears could exploit, they can't do. The Rams secondary is currently residing in Cleveland, but Andy Dalton won't have enough time to reach his brand new weapons that he doesn't have rapport with due to the offensive line.
All right. Monday night game, Jackson 5 and Mark Andrews, the highest paid tight end, 4 years, $56 million with the Baltimore Ravens, are heading to Vegas to face John Gruden and the Raiders. You know, when I first saw this game, I was very excited because I was like, oh, it's Vegas, it's Monday night. But then I was reminded of the two teams that were playing. This, to me, is a lopsided victory. I am going all day with the purple and black, not the black and silver. Even though, Violator, please don't come after me. I got a lot of love for you, brother. Thank you for taking care of my boy at the Hall of Fame game. And also, personal shout-out, thank you for being on Jarrell's Journal. Wonderful, wonderful time. I watched the whole entire thing. You, sir, are someone I want to connect with at a future date. With that being said, unfortunately, Violator, your Raiders are taking their first L to Jackson 5 and the Baltimore Ravens.
Well, I mean, the Ravens are headed to Death Star, as they call it in Vegas.
Yeah.
And I think what Eric is so eloquently trying to say is that the Ravens are the rebel forces that are going to blow up the Death Star. Figuratively, not literally, people. But anyway, no, look, Lamar Jackson and what he can do, the offense, I mean, obviously you lose J.K. Dobbins in a preseason game. That's tough. But they have enough running game. And like you just touched on with Mark Andrews being the highest paid tight end now, he's his security blanket. That guy gets open. People know where the ball's going, and yet nobody still is near Mark Andrews. He has made some tight window catches. Lamar Jackson can make those throws. I'm not the one out there saying he can't throw because, as Alex has touched on, there's a lot of people that think he just runs. He can throw the ball. Look, the Ravens receiving core, that's a question going into the season. I don't think, obviously, we're going to see in one game it completely come to fruition and blow up. I'm still big on Hollywood Brown. I think he can get it done. Obviously, we know the speed that he has. They got to be able to get him the ball. But with the Raiders, look, I'm a Derek Carr guy. Darren Waller, to me, yes, is in that conversation. I mean, Kelsey, Kittle, Waller, at 6'5". All three of those guys, you just turn around and post somebody up in the end zone. They're all making the catch and throw it up high. There's nobody taking the ball away. So, look, Gruden, again, this is the 5th year now, the 10-year, $100 million deal. The offensive line stuff, guys losing on the offensive line, I'm with that. I'm a loss for words with that one. I think the Raiders will be competitive, but I'm with these guys. There's no way Baltimore doesn't win this game. I think everybody's sick about the preseason talk, not being able to throw the ball. Lamar Jackson's got to be tired of that. But look, he's going to stay within the game plan because they can run it on the Raiders. But the Death Star with fans this year is going to be cool. I just don't think you get your first win against the Ravens. Pardon.
The rush defense of the Vegas Raiders was mediocre last year. The pass defense of the Vegas Raiders was atrocious. All offseason we've heard that the NFL has figured out Lamar Jackson. No, they haven't. The best is yet to come. It would help if Rashad Bateman of Minnesota was playing in this game, but he isn't. He's on IR. But people seem to forget that they've acquired Tyus Wallace. And Marquise Hollywood Brown is faster than anyone on that secondary, probably next to Trevor Lawrence, who will be playing his first game as a safety. Welcome to the NFL moment. What happened? Sammy Watkins can really make a home for himself in Baltimore.
Yeah.
I see Lamar Jackson not only has a better passing efficiency year, but he runs a little bit less. The recent acquisition of Le'Veon Bell is going to work wonders with Gus the Bus Edwards. Losing Justice Hill and J.K. Dobbins seems like it's going to hurt. This is Baltimore. No, it doesn't. And this is a gritty team. This is an old, veteran, experienced defense who's going to shut down Josh Jacobs. That's why he won't be playing for me on Monday night for my fantasy team. He's on my bench. Derek Carr's going to be running for his life because there is a queen in that linebacking core for Baltimore that is a headhunter. I think Baltimore runs this show from start to finish. Purple Rain.
Well, like I said, I called him Jackson 5 because that's how many I see in the 3 quarters. The 4th quarter, it's just going to be do whatever you want to do because the game at that point, in my opinion, will pretty much be done.
And this whole figuring out Lamar Jackson, the last time I heard anybody figure out how to catch up with somebody that can run a 4.27, a 4.3 40, never. You don't figure it out because you can't catch them if they get in the open field. You're not catching them. So there's no figuring. I mean,
Hey, what do we always say?
Good luck.
You can't teach height and you can't teach speed.
When I spoke with Lamar Jackson at the 2020 Pro Bowl, I asked him how did he feel about his naysayers and doubters. He said, I appreciate you. It's only motivation. He's going to continue to do what he keeps doing, and that's ball out.
and the crazy thing too about Lamar Jackson, and I touched on it you guys, with this on with you guys too, is that in college at Louisville, Bobby Petrino, he was running a pro-style offense. He didn't always take off and run. He won the Heisman Trophy, and if you looked at him his sophomore year, his junior year, his senior year, and as much as my argument, competition aside, but being in the ACC, his completion percentage went up every season. In the NFL, yes, it's different because, like Alex was talking about, and Eric's talking about, NFL, the speed of NFL secondaries, you can say somebody's the best, but it might be like, or fastest, but it might be by like a thousandth of a second. In college, you get some secondaries, guys can run by, the windows are a lot more wide for quarterbacks to throw, but he got better every year. He started out at like 52%, and I think when he won the Heisman, he was like at 65 to 67% at Louisville. Yes, it's college, but he's taking those steps in the NFL. You get him weapons, and he didn't take, my point is though, he didn't take off at Louisville just to run. He wasn't just dropping back saying they're not open. He stayed in the pocket. So everyone's saying he can't be a pocket passer. Go back and just watch a few highlights at Louisville. Watch a full game, and you'll see he stayed in the pocket to throw the ball.
He had better statistical numbers his senior year than he did his junior year
yeah.
in Louisville, in which he won the Heisman. You're not paying attention if you're not seeing the progression of the Baltimore Ravens. Cleveland, that one was for you.
That's going to do it for us here on the Sports Arena. That was our Week 1 predictions. We'll see how they hold true. We will be back as always. Make sure you tune in every live Monday nights, Wednesday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern. For Mike Carotenuto, Believe in the Pac-12 podcast, and my man Alex Fleming, Florida Sun, NSPN, your man Eric Wilson for the Sports Arena. Hey, football is back, and we are all thankful.